Evening all. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to Instant Spurs episode 5. Big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to everyone watching at home. Hope you're all doing good. Yes, we got Chris who's joining me tonight. It's not going to be a long one, but we're going to have a good old chat about Spurs. A lot been going on. West Ham at the weekend, and lots to talk about. I haven't spoke to Chris, so I'm interested to get his take on a few things. So, Chris, mate, how you doing? How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I've had better days, as you know, as we just spoke on the phone before. My company stopped operating today, so I'm currently unemployed. However, look, I'm breathing. The sun is shining. I'm not a Nottingham Forest fan, so life could be worse, you know?
Yeah, we're going to have a little chat about that one. This is in the chat. Big up, Lord Rodney Troy. Evening to you. There's only one Postacoglu. How you doing, man? Big up, Mike Pepper. Evening. Hope all is well. Evening to you. Thank you for being here. Look, where do we start, Chris? I mean, you messaged me last Thursday, actually, it was a week today. I was out, doing my family responsibilities or whatever, and ping, Levy's gone. And I was like, what?
Broke happy news, yeah.
So, man, how you what do you make of it all now? Hearing all sorts of stuff about so suddenly Enoch are not called Enoch, they're called the Lewis family, right? So I wonder where that's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing when I first saw it was shock, obviously. Just wasn't expecting it at all. I mean, we'd heard these rumours at the start of the summer that this might happen, right? But the way the summer went for me, I felt more confident than before that he wasn't going anywhere. And although ultimately the people who said Daniel Levy was going to leave have been proven right, I'm not sure that it's transpired the way that they thought, because it seems pretty much unanimous now that Levy wasn't expecting it and that he was kind of forced out at the end, right? So I don't know how the people who predicted it back in June would have known that before Daniel Levy would have known. But it doesn't really matter. He's gone. Look, the grass isn't always greener, right? But what it does do is it opens up the possibilities. It opens up the possibilities we could be worse than we were before, but it opens up the possibilities we could be better. And I think most fans had just got bored of the same old way of operating. So in that sense, I'm happy for the roll of the dice, and we'll see what happens next.
So were you quite happy to hear the news?
Oh, yeah, I was delighted to hear the news, mate. I like my little sayings in life, and one of them I like is, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you've always got, right? And I think that's where we were with Levy, right? We probably weren't going to get relegated. Last season was a massive aberration due to factors largely out of Levy's control. I think we knew what we were. We were probably a team that 6th, 7th in terms of what we would spend. That would be par for us. And if we had a good season or two, we might push for 4th, maybe. That's what we were as a team. We got very lucky for a couple of years where we had a good manager with some brilliant players that all came together at the same time to put us kind of 2nd and 3rd. But realistically, we were kind of a team that would and should finish around 6th. And if you're happy with that, that's great. But if you're ambitious and you want better, something had to change. So it's changed. Whether it will materialize into getting up the table further, I don't know. I mean, we'll be up the table from last season for sure, but whether we'll actually get to the competing with the Arsenals and the Chelseas, I think you've got to get to Arsenal and Chelsea before you worry about Liverpool and Man City, right? So we'll see. Yeah. But optimistic, man. Why not? We've got reason. actual reason why I can say I'm hopeful, which if I'd have said that a few months ago, I'd have just been lying and wouldn't been able to back it up. So, yeah,
No,
I'm positive about it, man. Positive.
It's a change what's well needed. Big up Nige in the chat. Big up chaps and chat. Smash the like button. Hope you're good, man. And big up to Scott as well. Lord Rodney Trotter says, what is the news with Chelsea? I mean, they've been charged, haven't they? Was it 74 charges in the Abramovich era? I don't know what that's going to be. It's probably going to be a massive financial penalty. Chris, what do you reckon on that? Do you think?
I mean, if the Man City thing's anything to go by, it's not going to be anything anytime soon. But I suppose the difference, though, is they've reported themselves, right? So there's going to, I imagine, be no contesting of these charges, whereas City obviously are employing the world's greatest lawyers to battle it out through the courts and whatever. And so maybe it'll be a lot quicker. I think you have to give them some. Look, we're Spurs fans, so I imagine our fan base will be all like, relegate them to the National South or whatever. But realistically, I think they have reported this themselves, right? And that's got to have a massive impact. And it's not the people who are there now. So there has to be some punishment. You can't just ignore these things. But I don't think you can be that harsh on them, really. It's not the fault of the people who are there. They've been honest and open about it. So, yeah, it probably would make sense for me to just be a financial penalty. I understand, by the way, there's a separate Premier League investigation into Chelsea as well. So something could come of that. But all the same stuff, really.
Evening to Binny Guy. I don't believe anything media's been saying. They've been lying for decades and now suddenly they wanted to be honest. Come on.
Yeah, but these are the new owners, and by all accounts, they reported it immediately they took over. It's not like they reported it today. So this has all been knocking around in the background since Todd Bowley took over. So I don't think you can kind of tar them with the same brush based on what we know, at least.
So going back to the Levy, ENIC, now they're being called the Lewis family. So you know, kind of blame wise, Levy's gone now. A lot of blame's going to ENIC. Whose fault is it? Who was the biggest problem at the club? Where do you put the blame lie, Chris? Is it kind of like both of them, or one more than the other, or collective? How do you view that?
I mean, the first question is probably blame for what exactly? I'm less critical.
What I mean, blame by the lack of success in.
Yeah. I assume that's what you meant. I mean, to be honest, this year probably I've viewed them a little more favourably than I have before. I think mainly because the extreme Levy and ENIC outers, of which I thought I was one, but the real extreme, the argument's got a bit silly where, they're just getting blamed for you get a parking ticket somewhere in the borough of Haringey and it's like, well, that's Levy's fault. I'm like, well, just it's got a bit ridiculous, So I think I've eased a little bit off them, and I'm sympathetic to sort of Sean Butler's argument about actually look at it over the years. We haven't done that badly, but so it depends how you look at it. But I do think there are missed opportunities in ENIC's tenure where we could have really pushed on, and the lack of ambition to really be a serious challenger has held us back when those pivotal moments came. I always think back to that 4-1 win against Liverpool at Wembley. I went to that.
Yeah, amazing game.
And walked away from that genuinely thinking if any footballer right now has got a free choice of where to go, they would choose Tottenham over Liverpool. But since that moment, the clubs have gone on very different paths. So we will find out now whether ultimately that was Joe Lewis / ENIC's directive to Levy, or whether they'd given Levy almost complete free rein to run the club completely how he wanted. I guess we're sort of going to find out. Well, I guess we'll find out whether it was a mixture of those or whether it's still the same, just with alleged different owners. I do sort of agree with the argument a little bit that there's a bit of sleight of hand from the Lewis family here. And I think they are trying to position themselves as though this is all Levy's fault and this is all completely new and we're going to be completely different going forward. I think that's a little bit of first of all, they've had the trust has been in place for a couple of years now. So they could have done something different in that time. But yeah, I think that's a little bit of they're trying to paint themselves out as though it's nothing to do with us. We're going to come in. We've got rid of the big bad wolf, and now it's all going to be different. Well, we will see, right? They've got to back that up.
So what are you expecting to see now, Chris, in the next 12, 18 months? What are you going to be looking for?
I just want to see some ambition to win on the field. Not that Levy, people jump on words in a silly way. So like in Levy's interview when he said he wants to win the Premier League, and well, of course he did. Like no owner is going to say, no, I'd rather not, win it or not win it. I'll go with the not winning it. No owner's ever going to say that. The question that should have followed that is what is the strength of your ambition? Do you really want to push the envelope a bit to actually get that success, or is there a limit to how far you're willing to financially push Tottenham, which I think there was under Levy, certainly in terms of the wages and things like that. So we'll find out now. So ultimately, yeah, I'm hopeful. I hope we're going to see that some more sort of a higher threshold of the wages, basically that wage to revenue turnover ratio, go up a little bit. It's not that we don't pay at the top end. I mean, we don't pay the 600 grand, obviously, for Haaland. That's not sensible. But our top earners generally aren't a million miles off your Chelseas and your Arsenals. It's the just the depth, the number that we're willing to do. And we've only had in the last few years 2 or 3 players at that sort of level, right? So now I'm expecting that to increase 5, 6, 7 players. So I'm expecting us to go in for your Savios and be paying more players 200 grand a week. So by this time next year, I'd expect us to have a squad of another 3 or 4 60, 70 million pound players in, hopefully. That's what I would hope for. And then I think we can have serious ambitions about. It's always going to be tough to compete against City. The depth of their squad is ridiculous. I don't think even the most optimistic of fan, I don't think we can look at City and go, that's the depth of squad we expect to have. But if we can have a first 11 that can compete and have 3, 4, 5, 6 reasonable substitutes that come on where the drop-off isn't like a chasm, then we've got a chance. And that's what I want, right? I don't think we're too far with the first 11, but we still have some players who I think would be our first choice, who for me, none of the other top 4 or 5 would contemplate at all. I guess that's a measure. I'd like our squad in 12 months' time for the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, maybe even Liverpool, City, to go, you know what? I wouldn't mind that Tottenham player in my team. I don't think we've had too many of them. So that's what I'm looking forward for going forward, really. We'll see, though. It could just be the same old, so we'll see.
What you said there is kind of what I'm looking at, ambition. That's what we want to see, right? Transfer window after transfer window, improve the recruitment. Like we've had, it was a much better transfer window, wasn't it, this summer? There was an improvement, right, with those 4, first team players coming in. So this is what we want to see continue now. The transfer windows coming up. But look, I'm hearing like people are thinking Spurs may be able to finish 5th this season, and I'm not too sure how they're kind of basing that. I don't know. I think it's a bit high for me. What do you reckon, Chris? Where's that coming from? Have we got our squad 5th place looking squad in the league?
That's the key question, mate. I think if we were ranking, where do you think these teams might finish based on the strength of their first 11 and we were only playing in the league? Yeah, maybe. But you got to factor in the squad. So you got to factor in injuries. You got to factor in fatigue because of how many games we're playing. That's where I think we're gonna really have challenges. So, do I think on our day, on average, we might be the 5th best team in the league? Maybe. I think we've got some really good players in now. My worry, and we're going to start to get into this period starting from this weekend, right? 2 games a week. I think we're really going to see players as we get into the depths of the winter, 2 games a week all the time. And if we do okay in the Carabao Cup and then the FA Cup in the new year, I think they're going to really, even if it's not injuries, I think they're just going to be knackered, really. And so then you're going to have to rely on your Ben Davies, who I do not give the level of stick everybody else does, but there's no escaping that he's not an amazing player, right? So when you're bringing in the likes of him and, that Archie Gray's, bless him, hopefully he'll improve. But these are players that we know are not really going to be helping any team to compete in the top 4 or 5. So
if he finished 5th, Chris, I think that would be a really amazing season, juggling the Champions League as well. I can't see it myself. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the Newcastle squad. They've made some really good signings. They're ahead of us in kind of, where they're at with their managers being there a little while now. I mean, it will be a tough ask to finish 5th.
I think
it's impossible.
A lot depends on Vissa for me, because I'm just going to put it out there, and I'm more than happy to look like an absolute idiot in a few months' time. Voltemade does not do it for me, and I think he's going to struggle in the Premier League. He certainly is not worth the money they paid for him, which is absolutely mental. So I think they're going to be heavily reliant on Vissa. So we'll see, because if he doesn't hit the ground running, they're going to struggle to score, I think. But yeah, I mean, they're a good squad. But it's building, mate. I always say the same thing about when people say, where do you want us to finish? I find that secondary to me. I can pluck out a number, sure. It's how do we get to that position that I'm concerned with. If we have Ange's first season and we're top in November, and then we tail off and we're looking absolutely atrocious, but we limp over in 5th or 6th, that's a very different 5th or 6th to if we're not quite there the first half of the season, but you can see the progress. You can see the players slowly getting it more and more, and then we improve as the season goes on. We look better coached, and then we finish 5th or 6th. I'd take that one over the first one every day of the week. So it's how we get there. And for me, it's not just how we perform now. It's extrapolating that to the next season and thinking, are the signs there that give me hope that this is going to get better? Or do I think we're going to get worse? That's where I landed with Ange at the end of that first season. I was Ange out, because trying to predict the future, I thought that all the signs are there. We're going down, right? And we did. So that's really what matters to me, is what I see on the pitch. The results they're the most important thing, but they're also subject to a bit of luck, referee decisions. As long as I can see the progress in how we're coaching, how we're playing, I'll be relatively happy if we're top 8, to be honest.
Look, Chris, fans are this is what we do as fans, isn't it? We predict where we think we'll finish, where we want to finish. All that sort of stuff is fairly, it's quite normal. I just don't get that kind of 5th place. I can't see it in this first season. If Frank does it, as he said, he would have done a very good job managing it all. I don't think the squad's there yet. I think there's clear positions that we need in the side. And, it's going to take a few windows for Frank to kind of be happy with his squad. Some more have got to go out. There's key positions that we need filling. I just don't know how this is all going to play out. We've seen 3 games. Okay, you could add the PSG game in as well, 4. And we just don't know. The 2 games a week, how's Frank going to kind of manage the squad, changing game to game? Like, is he going to go full strength against West Ham, and then is he going to rest some against Villarreal? It's all of this sort of stuff. It's going to be really intriguing to find out how he manages it, because I think we do have a good starting 11. Maybe 3 or 4 players coming in, I think, can maybe keep the level up. But, you lose a player like Simmons. We haven't got a left winger. Yeah. You lose Van der Ven. You haven't got a left-sided centre-back there. So there's going to be some issues throughout the season. So look, a bit like you, Chris, I just want to see it improve overall in the season, be competitive, don't lose as many games like we did last season.
I'll give you another measure, which for me is the single most important thing.
Go on.
How do I feel when I'm going to a game? Because last season, I began to resent going. Like, I've paid for these, going to the away game. I always talk about going to Villa Park just after we'd lost to Liverpool in the second leg of the League Cup. I went to the Liverpool game, and I just remember so clearly on the way to Villa Park thinking, what is the point? Why am I bothering? Just wasting my time. And when you're feeling that about your football club, football for me, we had all this argument, didn't we, at the end of last season. Does winning trophies justify everything? the answer for me personally is absolutely resounding no. It's about the joy of going to watch your team play. Results are slightly secondary, and hopefully if the results come, you will get the trophies. But one trophy does not justify a season of me absolutely hating my own football club. So if that joy is back there and we can go into games, and I'm not thinking like I was last season, I know what's going to happen. I know we're going to be embarrassed. I know we're going to see the same mistakes. If I'm going into games thinking we've got a reasonable chance and we've got players hopefully like Simmons and Mawani who might pull something out of a hat and you can beat your cities like we did the other week, that for me will restore my joy of football, and everything else.
Bit of pride back. Yeah. Bit of pride supporting Spurs back,
100%, mate. 100%.
Yeah. Just go to the chat, say a few hellos. Big up to Haz. Big up to Sean if you're still watching. Hope you're good. A few comments. Big up to Kate. Evening to you. Big up Mark as well. Hope you're good. Thank you for joining us. Who else is here? Big up Barbaric. How you doing, man? Good evening, gents. Smash the like button, and good evening to Paul Brown as well. Thank you so much. And Jimmy as well. Big up Jimmy. Hope you're good as well. So look, let's move this conversation along here. In the chat, there was a few kind of seventh, has said seventh, Mark said seventh. We have an eighth. I just think they're just more kind of realistic. I think finishing 17th last season, Frank's first season, he's got a lot of work to do. It's going to take some time. I don't expect miracles. I really don't. The new players may have to adjust. It might take some time. I know we're happy with these players, but a couple of them haven't played in the Premier League before. So so we can't just expect them just to suddenly start, running the show. It may take some time. I hope hope they prove me wrong and they do, hit straight away. But we will see. But moving on to the conversation to Ange. Chris, what do you make of it all? And were you surprised when Nottingham Forest hired him or not?
I mean, when Nuno went, I was messaging people going, I hope it's Ange. I hope it's Ange. And yeah, the football gods answered my prayers. And I honestly don't think, if his name didn't end in Lou, then I don't think he'd have another Premier League job, right? I think Marinakis has just fancied the Greek connection there. Look, I've got nothing against him as a person. Obviously, I don't know the guy.
He's back. I can't believe it, Chris. He's back.
I know. And look, if he does well, the only problem with him doing well, I've got nothing against Ange. I'm glad he's not manager at Tottenham. My worry, if he does well, is I've never known anything like it for any manager we've ever had of the kind of cult of Ange. And we're still here now, me and you talking about it. If he does rubbish, it will finally get put to bed, I think. If he does even half well, we'll still have half the fan base throwing it back at the other half going, see, like we should have kept him. I'm like, okay, can we just move on for Christ's sake? But I'll round off my Ange view by saying I'm never really a fan. He was fine, like when he was winning and he was this jovial character. But after that, I don't subscribe to this view that he's a great guy. Like, let's just separate. Personally, I don't know. But in terms of how he comes across in the media, and I don't see it. Even today, I watched his press conference at Forest, and the way he answered some of the questions, he passes them off as a joke, but I think some of his comments are just...
What's the one, Chris, about Spurs? They said, were you surprised you were sacked or something like that? What did he say?
Yeah, well, he was saying that he knew it was coming before the final, which is interesting. So it just shows you that comment about the third season was performative nonsense, really. It was, but yeah, just the way he jokes about stuff. I can't remember what the comment was now. But as soon as there was one comment he made, and I just messaged the other YouTubers that and just said, I don't see it. He's just rude and arrogant. That's my view of him. Other people I know think he's amazing and this wonderful character. Not for me. He was a guy who was surly, rude, called out the fans, argued with them, clapped them at Chelsea, a couple of years at Chelsea. I'm just glad we're rid of him. The head down, the mumbling. And the worst thing for me was when I've watched our team be crap, I want our manager to come out and say, we were crap. I certainly don't want him to come out and say, "Oh, I thought we were outstanding." And I saw that so often with Ange and thought, I don't know. Either you're delusional or you're deliberately trying to gaslight the fans. And at that stage, I'm like, I can't buy into you as a serious football manager if you're bullshitting me when I've given all my time and money up to go and watch this crap. So, look, so happy. I mean, if there's one thing I want to praise Daniel Levy for, it's sacking Ange Postecoglou. Thank God he did that. I'm so glad he's gone. Nothing against him. What I expect to happen is I expect, this is going to sound arrogant, I expect everything that I and other people, I know you weren't a fan, people like Sava have said about Ange to come true. And I expect it to come crashing down, possibly in fairly spectacular style, given who runs Nottingham Forest as a football club. I just can't see it going well. And if it does go well, I'll come back on and go, I completely got it wrong. I just can't see it, mate.
Well, you know, there was a worry that he was going to stay at Spurs, wasn't it, after that cup win, right? Because of the reaction to that third season, and all people were cheering for Ange, and you know, he won a lot of people over in the fan base. So so then it was like how I was thinking. It's like, okay, you know, he could end up staying here. It's out of my control. It is what it is. And if he was going to stay, it's like, what is he going to learn in his third season? So now that third season is going to be at Nottingham Forest, you know, like we're going to see it if it's going to be a change. I've got a feeling, Chris, that he's not going to change for anyone. You know, Makaraka's, sorry if I pronounce his name, was his name Manarakis? Manarakis, yeah, sorry. He said that he wants Nottingham Forest to play attacking football. You know, so he's definitely going to get that. But
that's something I've got to pull up as well. That's just another massive bit of gaslighting. I saw this in the.
Has he actually said that, Chris, or is that just a rumor?
This was in the press conference today about, oh yeah, I like my team to play attacking football, and the media fuel it. So they're going, oh, you have this really attacking brand of football. It's like no one has watched Tottenham for the last 18 months. Like there was nothing of that. It was it was beyond boring. Like towards the end of Conte, I thought we were quite dull. But Ange was a new level for me because it was dull measured with complete incompetence as well. So I don't know where people get this from, that he was this amazing. Well, I do. They got it from 10 matches at the very start of his reign, and they're freely ignoring the other 91 that we played where we were shite. So I don't believe it that he's this amazing attacking manager. I just haven't seen it. It's all right to do that.
They score a lot of goals. His teams do score goals, just can't defend.
But mate, when you're managing by far the strongest team in the league, like at Celtic, you're going to score. I think he averaged 2.5 goals a game for Celtic there.
But he didn't do bad at Spurs with goals. I think he done okay.
Yeah, he did
all
right.
That doesn't mean it's attacking good attacking football, does it?
Well, what happened was when we won, we had a tendency to win 3, 4, and 5, right? But whenever the game was close, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't scrape a draw. We'd just lose every single game. Yeah. So it was kind of all or nothing, really. We were flat track bullies, weren't we? Look, we put 4 past City. I think we put 4 past Villa at least once, if not twice.
We did, yeah.
But generally speaking, we were going to pummel your Luton Towns or that's who we were, mate.
Kiwi Spurs TV, evening to you. I think that the point of Ange, his box office, despite if you like him or hate him, Spurs creators will squeeze every bit of Ange content they can. Look, the press are going to love him. You know, he is that guy. He's going to, do you know what I mean, Chris? Like there's a lot of stuff around him like last season, and he's, you know, they love it, don't they? All the journalists and the press conferences, the wild games. He brings kind of not like entertainment, but you know, he was being called a clown a bit, wasn't he? By the end of it, he's tactically naive. He became a bit of a meme, didn't he, Chris?
Yeah, I mean that's really harsh, right? I mean, he's not. You can call him lots of things, but I don't see the need to be calling people clowns. Like he's got a long career.
He was called a clown. That's what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah, it was the media said. To be fair, they said something. Yeah, it was an indirect comment.
Yeah.
It was like,
I'm not saying it's right, but what I'm trying to say about him, he kind of divides opinion, doesn't he? And you know, he's a character, isn't he?
I'm just glad to be hopefully rid, for the most part, of the circus of Aussie fans Ange fans. I've got no problem with Aussie Tottenham fans, but the Ange fans that came with him, I don't get it. Go off and support Nottingham Forest, and yeah, good riddance, frankly.
Look, I don't know how that's going to go, really. I really don't. I think they'll have a bit of a bounce at the beginning and you'll see some good results. New manager coming in, players wanting to prove themselves. But I don't know what... I mean, they'll be silly if they go to Arsenal and like start playing that sort of football. He's got to go defensive and play on the counter. If he does that...
he's got to go with Ange Wall, not Ange... Sorry, I think that's another Sean Butler quote. He's probably going to have to pay him royalties at the moment, the way I'm going in this chat. But yeah, I think he's going to have to do... He's going to have to stink it out like the Europa League final, right? Because if he goes full on Ange ball...
And this is what I want to see. I want to see if he adapts in certain matches. I want to see what he does.
Yeah, on the halfway line. I'd love to see. It's great to watch if it's not your team, right? I mean,
and this is it. This will be good. We can actually enjoy it, and see how it plays out rather than worry about it. It was a nightmare last season, absolute nightmare, weren't it? To be honest, all those defeats, it was just too much. Let's go to the chat. What's the odds Forest get relegated and win the Europa League? I mean, you never know. You never know, do you? And that's the thing. He's in that Europa League, Chris. So, Forest, I like the Forest team. I think they're a good side. I think they've got some good players. I think they invested quite well in the summer. He could go in there and just mess the whole thing up.
I actually don't think... There's been a massive difference of opinions, but lots of people saying how Forest are completely wrong set up for Ange. I sort of agree with the centre-backs. Actually, I don't think it's that badly set up for Ange apart from that. Like, got some decent wingers. He's got a fairly strong midfield. So I think they've got... I mean, I don't think Ange Ball's ever going to work. Like, you could have Maldini and Baresi, prime Maldini and Baresi, not now, they're in their 50s and 60s, but you could have prime Maldini and Baresi. I don't think it's going to ultimately work. But I don't think he's got the worst set of players to do it. Obviously, they're very used to being defensive and counter-attacking, so he's got to change their mindset. But yeah, I don't know. I just, when you appoint a new manager, you want to be full of hope and optimism, don't you? And
but Nottingham Forest fans, Chris, I don't know if you heard them, but I haven't heard them all. But a lot of them are a bit sceptical, right? They're a bit worried. There's some who have gone a bit deluded and says, "Oh, he always wins in his second season. He's going to bring us a trophy." And obviously, they're playing to it.
Exactly, but they've just appointed him, so they're stuck with him for a while. So you've got to move your mindset somehow from laughing at the idiot that was coaching Tottenham to shit, he's our manager. How are we going to deal with it? So you've got to buy into the delusion, haven't you, really, at the start and hope for the best. That's what it is, mate. It literally is hopium and copium, I guess, from the Forest fans.
Jimmy hopes Forest medical department is better than he had at Tottenham.
Yeah, maybe you can take them because I don't think they're still at Spurs, are they? Maybe you can appoint them at Forest. I don't know. And that's the other thing. He's taken all the rubbish coaches with him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's the same guys, right? I saw it yesterday. It's all the same guys. Jedniak and the coaches from Scotland who he brought over. I forgot their names now.
Yeah, it's Nick Montgomery, wasn't it? Rob Birch, who was the keeper coach. He's gone there because he used to play for Spurs, didn't he? It looks like of all of the ones we had last season, we actually kept the one who was half decent, right, in Matt Wells. So,
yeah, okay. Well, look, it's just brings a kind of another thing into the Premier League. A lot of people said that he wouldn't get another Premier League job, and he's not just got any Premier League job. He's got a team in Europe, a good team. They want to progress this season. Their chairman is very, very passionate. He's putting a lot into the club there. He wants to win. He wants success. Fair play to him. I know a lot of people don't like him because of the Morgan Gibbs White, but you've got to admire his passion, right? I don't know if you're a fan of him or not, Chris.
Yeah. I would say no. I'd say no generally.
But what about his ambition? His ambition for the club, and that's what we would love to see at Spurs. Someone who just wants to go for it. Not being stupid with money, but you want that passion from your owner, don't you? To want
Look
Spurs
what he's already
to win.
done, mate. It's taken them from the bottom half of the Championship up to Europe.
There you go. That's it.
Fair play. You can't knock that.
But that decision with Ange as a manager, he could have got in someone else, maybe better. But he's taken a risk with it, isn't he? A massive risk.
the one thing I would say about Ange, I can't stand the guy, but he definitely makes the Premier League more interesting for sure. So
Yeah, it is. And when we played them, I think it's second week of December.
yeah, the
Yeah,
home game's on my birthday, or currently supposed to be on my birthday, so that'll be interesting.
yeah, you have to go to that one, eh? That's going to be a
Yeah,
lively
I
one.
mean,
Where
oh
is
God,
it?
can
So
you
it's at our
imagine?
ground, yeah? Is it
Can you
our ground,
imagine
Chris? Or is it at
in
Forest?
March? It is the first one's away, isn't it? I think.
First one's away, yeah.
Um,
And how do you think we'll match up against them now? Because obviously,
well,
I'm quite looking forward to playing them now that Ange is there. When we played them against Nuno, it was a lot tougher, I thought. So I know I haven't seen them yet, but I know how Ange plays, and it's
they
going to be
killed
so
us.
much space.
Forest killed us last season. I went to the away game and we were atrocious, and then the home game they were two up in the first 20 minutes, and they had a goal disallowed. Like, they ripped us apart. I don't expect them to do that, but God, there's a lot on that game, isn't there? Now the whole Morgan Gibbs-White stuff and the Marinakis stuff, and now Ange. My worry is, although it would be really funny, if we go to Forest and they beat us 3 or 4, just the Spurs YouTube would be something to behold afterwards. All the Ange lovers, and it would just be an amazing sight. Because look, on the day, any one team can beat any other, right? On the day, like we've seen it under Ange, like when we went to City and won 4-0. So you can't say I don't rate him. And on average, a decent side that's well coached should beat your average Ange side, in my opinion. But on any one day, anything can happen. So we will see. But there's a lot on those games.
They're a good side, Chris. You know what I mean? It's not. Do you know what I mean? They are a good team. Like, I don't know. Look, enough of Ange talk. I think we've got a little while left. Let's just finish it off talking about West Ham on Saturday, 5:30. And how do you see this one, Chris? First of all, what do you think of West Ham? Let's talk about them for a bit. Graham Potter, what their summer transfer window, how you think that went. I've got them. I can pull it up if you want to see them, if you don't know. But what do you think of West Ham, and what's going on there?
I mean, he's under a lot of pressure, isn't he? But their last result was a 3-0 win at Forest, I think.
Yep.
So that's helped. Yeah, it's funny, West Ham, at the start of last season, when I looked at the business they did, I was one of the ones who thought, they're going to be sort of 6th, 7th-ish, and they were just...
Who, West Ham?
Yeah. I
last season or this summer?
Last season, I thought their squad on paper was decent, but they were just... And I still, to this day, I don't think it's terrible, certainly going forward. Although it did amuse me that they signed... Their big signing a couple of days ago was Lucas Fabianski, who they just let go the previous week. Welcome to West Ham, Lucas Fabianski.
So this is their kind of lineup, just to kind of jog your memory. Falkirk is injured for a couple of months, so he won't be playing. So they've got Wilson there, Callum Wilson, they signed from Newcastle. But, look at that side. I mean, to be honest, their summer transfer window wasn't the greatest. They signed a couple of up-and-coming young players in midfield, which look like they've got heaps of potential, very talented players. They haven't played much yet. Fernandes from Southampton, and I think a French international. I could be wrong, but I'll double check.
Yeah.
You look at their transfer, and I'll show you what signings they made. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see the signings they made on the left? Yeah. It's not fantastic, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's like they really struggled last season, West Ham. They were all close to a relegation battle, and that's their summer transfer window. And look at the players that they've lost experience, or not, maybe they were probably at the end of their careers. But, if you're a West Ham fan, I mean, you saw that transfer window, you would be like, it's going to be a tough old season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. For me, it's the back. At the back, they're really not strong, I don't think. So we need to take it to them, I think. Their strength, Bowen and Paqueta and Fulkrug's decent player. So I think they can cause us some problems, but we've got to go. This is what I want to see from Spurs. I want to see us go and try and sort of assert ourselves onto the game and win the midfield battle. And if we've got sort of Paulinho, if he puts in half the performance he did at City, I think we've got a great chance. But I don't think it'll be as easy as people think. They're always up for it against us as well. So I expect a difficult game, if I'm honest.
They were going to press, because we had a West Ham fan on Tuesday night on the show, Beyond the Lane, and he says that what you'll see is that they will press us at the beginning in the first 15, 20 minutes. And if you kind of can ride that out, get a foothold in the game, catch them on the counter, it should be a Spurs win. But there's the derby factor. West Ham always raise their game. They have got a couple of good players. Bowen's always dangerous against Spurs.
And like
and
as
things
you
like
said
that.
earlier, mate, we've got new players who are good players.
Yeah.
But you don't know how that goes to start with. Like, are we expected? They've been away on the international break, so they're not going to have had much time with the squad. So what do we expect to see from Simmons and Mawani? And it's difficult to call.
Like everyone's crying out, throw them straight in. I don't see it. I can't see Frank throwing both of them in.
I think Simmons might play because I don't really got anyone else. It wouldn't surprise me if Mawani started on the bench. But we've still got this problem, haven't we, on the left wing? Ultimately, trying to sort of get as strong a team as we can, but maybe not in every position. I probably would favour. I don't want Simmons on the left, but I can see ultimately Simmons on the left. And I'm not saying for Saturday, but maybe in a few weeks, Simmons on the left, Kudus in the middle, Mawani up front. And then you've got a few options on the right wing, possibly like a Johnson or somebody.
It's a problem, isn't it? That left side, Chris.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, who going to play? Who would you play on the left? Really looking at that
for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to give one of those young boys a chance, I guess, don't we? They're here. Tell Wilson. It's got to be one of them starting. Not Johnson. I can't see Johnson on the left all season, to be honest.
I think Johnson, bizarrely, is better in your more difficult games because when you're going to hit on the counter, like at City, that he's got a chance. If you're going there trying to dominate the game, he doesn't offer you anything. If we're going to be on top and they're going to be sitting back, he's not beating a man. He's not getting a crossing. What's the point? Tell, I've got no faith in. That said, he scored twice in the week, right? So you would hope his confidence is up a little bit. I think we've seen a bit more from Odebear, but not enough for me that I've got any faith in him either, really. I honestly don't know, mate. I'm quite depressed at our options on the left wing, if I'm honest with you. To the extent that if they were both fit, I might even be tempted to play Richarlison and put Solanke up front. But do we know what? Obviously, there were rumours that Solanke was going to be out for months, but it doesn't look like it's ever been confirmed by anybody. So I don't know, because they were still saying that they were hoping he was back after the international break. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow in the press conference, right? They were assessing Solanke. It is unclear. I tried to look it up, and it was just not. We don't know. There wasn't a date on his return.
That would help massively because I don't rate Richarlison. Like, he'll score a great goal once every 8 or 9 games, but I don't rate him at all.
No,
Solanke's better. I mean, I'm not a massive Solanke fan, but I just think he's better than Richarlison. Ultimately, I'd like us just to play Mawani up front, really, but we're so weak on the wings, and when he's got an ability to play out on the right, maybe on the left, maybe you're going to have to utilise that. Because what we're talking about, mate, when we're talking about we've improved, but there are still certain areas where we really are quite weak, I think.
Yeah, this is my concern. What we discussed a little bit earlier. The Mark in the chat says, do we play 3 at the back and then rely on the width with the wing backs?
I don't think we will. I think you'll see us set up, at least in formation and selection, similar-ish to City, but I think Simmons will probably play. I think Mawani probably be on the bench. Wouldn't surprise me if Johnson starts.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. And, he just does nothing unless he's scoring. He's just offers so little. I don't know. We'll have to see, innit? We're going to see the next few games how it all plays out. Johnson, he scored a couple of goals this season, hasn't he? And, he's got a big fan base, Johnson. People really like him. They got a song. He's got a song. And look, I don't know. So, Chris, how do you think this one's going to go? Do you think our quality should win it? One thing I will say though, Chris, is that we've got to match the intensity of West Ham. That's just the basic. We've got to match their effort, win the 50-50s, and don't do anything stupid. Get the man sent off, and just really our quality should. I look at their midfield, and unless they're playing a couple of their younger midfielders they signed, they ain't got a lot of pace in that midfield. We should be able to get amongst them and really play our game.
The game's won and lost for me. Palhinha needs to exert himself. Bentancur needs to step up in a game like this. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's a flat track bully and he's great in games against easier opposition. It's games like this I need to see something from Bentancur. And if they play well, I think we've got a pretty good chance. Bear in mind, it's going to be a tough game for Kudus, right? He's going to get a very interesting reception. So I think it'll be close. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a draw, but we might nick it with just a slight bit more quality. But I'm not going to panic if it's a draw. I think it's okay. As long as I'm still seeing the building blocks from Frank and if we put in another Bournemouth performance, there can't be too many of them before you start to get concerned because that was really bad. So I want to see Frank address that. He's normally got a decent plan to actually go and win every game. So let's see what he puts in place. But prediction-wise, I'm torn between 1-1 and 2-1 to Spurs. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm a naturally slightly negative Spurs fan, so I'm going to go with 1-1, I think. Mark has made a good point. We've got Champions League on Tuesday night as well. So
look, I'd be disappointed if we don't win this game, really would, because I don't think West Ham have all that. And, we've had some good performances. If we can go to somewhere like City, play that well against PSG, we should be able to beat West Ham. I'm sorry. I will be disappointed. And I know you can't win every game. I'm not expecting a win, but come on, West Ham, they're not great, really. They're really not. And I'll be disappointed if we don't win that game. A draw, would I take a draw? It depends on the circumstances of the game, how we play. Do you know what I mean, Chris? It's
always a tough game, mate. It's always tough.
I know it's a tough game, but I come on, if we want to, when I look at away games, I see West Ham is a winnable game. We're better than them man to man. If Frank sets them up right, if the players play with the right attitude, this should be a win.
I went there last season, mate. It was towards the end of the season as well, and they
2-2, wasn't it? Was it 2-2?
1-1, I think it was.
1-1.
And they titled it El Crapico.
Oh, it was crap, wasn't it? Well, rubbish game, wasn't it? Absolute rubbish. And we beat them at home, didn't we, last season 4-1 earlier in the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of the better performances, yeah.
But look, we'll see how it goes. Let's go to the chat before we sign off. I've got to go in a couple of minutes. 2-1 to Spurs. Mark, tight game. See what else in the chat. Any other predictions? Nige says we need to not get involved in a scrap. That's what West Ham wants. Keep our heads. Yeah, true. Very true. Mark's talking about the Champions League on Tuesday, what we're all looking forward to. Villarreal is a winnable game. We're interested to see how we play. I'm looking forward to that, Chris, getting back in the Champions League, having that Champions League music. It's been a little while, wasn't it, since we've been in it? Last in it under Conte. That was quite a few years ago. Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to that. By the way, West Ham game, one other thing I'd say, these are the games that aren't quite the absolute elite games like your Europa League final. These are the games where I really want to see Romero lead the team.
Yeah.
And not drop the 2 and 3 out of 10s like he was doing at Wolves away and places like that last season. If he's really committed to Spurs, which I still doubt.
He's got to be more consistent, Chris.
These are the games.
That's the problem with Romero. He's not consistent. He turns up for the big games or when he fancies it. In these type of games, he was a little bit dodgy against Burnley, I thought, against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
But then he plays well against City and PSG. You're right. I want to see more consistency from Romero throughout the season. He's the captain now. He's got to have that performance. He's got to want it, every match away from home, wherever.
Romero and Palhinha play well, we'll win the game. for me.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we do. Just a couple more comments and then I'm going to close the show down. This is a 6-pointer. However, I wouldn't go to a back three at the back. It's a 6-pointer in heritage, but we should be putting the irons in the fire. In all reality, is true. Lord Ronnie Trotter, we should be beating them. I think. Look at our summer transfer window compared to them. Players, we've got a better team. Yes, I know Frank's just got here, but come on, this game we've got to win and kind of, put some wrongs, after that terrible performance against Bournemouth. Really, really poor. So we want to see a reaction. I know there's the whole thing about coming back from international break, but look, we've got to get in gear. Games are going to be coming thick and fast. It's Brighton away, isn't it, the weekend after? And that's not going to be an easy match. So you don't want to, lose a couple. You don't want that. We want to get back to winning ways. Cookie says, I want to see Kudos celebration when he bangs in on Saturday. We do. Evening to France says 3-1 to us. Let's hope. Big up Ashraf. What do you make of Ange's press conference winning trophy in his first season? Yeah, we talked about that, man. Just rewind it back. We had a little chat about that a bit earlier. Just see if there's any more comments. Jimmy saying 2-1 and Mawani with a debut goal. That would be quite fantastic. Looking forward to seeing how he gets on as well, Mawani. Yeah, I like him. But again, we don't know. He's no Premier League experience. We'll see how he goes. I think he's better than Richarlison and Solanke.
Yeah,
but we will see. We will see.
But he's a very different sort of player as well, so we need to adapt a little bit if we're going with him. But yeah, I agree. He's a more talented player.
Just a couple more comments. Cookie saying 3-0 Spurs. We should have too much for them. I agree, man. We should have too much for them. And just one more with John Stokes. Evening to you, John. Up front, Mawani, left to right, Richie, Simmons, Kudos. Yeah, sounds exciting. Right, guys, Chris, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat about Spurs. We'll be kind of doing this on and off throughout the season if we're both available. Big up to people in the chat. Thank you for your comments. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. And I don't know when doing next Beyond the Lane, because it's on Tuesday, so I need to speak to Nigel about that and work that out. But we'll get another show in next week. But guys, thank you for watching. Enjoy your rest of the evening. Let's hope to get a good win against West Ham on Saturday. And as always, come on, you Spurs.